As you may already know, not all movement practices are designed equally. In the LYT Yoga method, we help you retrain your brain and body to move better for everyday life. Through physical therapy drills, yoga, functional mobility, core stability, and flexibility, the LYT method rewires habitual movement patterns and postural imbalances to help you feel stronger, more energized, and more balanced both on and off the mat. Our online platform, the LYT Daily, is designed for easy convenience with a robust offering of class types so you can boost your energy while getting stress relief. Yes. Improved brain wiring means you will move with more ease and efficiency because we teach you the how and why behind movement choices, not just poses for the sake of poses. All movement teachers on the platform are certified by LYT and share a common language, providing education with clear cues that give you the needed reinforcement for enhancing your movement habits. Thousands of students in over 60 countries get LYT to feel more confident, more powerful, and more alive. We offer 2 subscription options for all levels and bodies. The LYT Daily option includes library of 500 plus classes with so many categories, including short on time, injury prevention, stress relief, and body parts. Tuesdays and Thursdays, we offer live classes streamed on LYT Daily. There's a class of the day to help you take the guesswork out of what class to do, and monthly workshops are 50% off. Then the LYT Studio option has everything I just mentioned in the daily option, plus 20 weekly live Zoom classes with LYT teachers providing real-time feedback. There are monthly workshops that are free for these studio members. You can stream all of this right to your TV Air device through Android, iPhone, and iPad apps. Movement changes everything. When we move better, we feel better. So sign up for our free 1-week trial and see how getting LYT can help you feel your best today and for years to come. I'm Laura Hyman, and welcome to Redefining Movement, a LYT podcast designed to investigate all aspects of movement from my background in physical therapy and neuroscience. My mission is to help everyone find freedom through smarter movement patterns and compassion for ourselves and others, so together we can live our most uplifted lives, benefiting all beings. Welcome to Wednesday Q&A, where you all ask the questions and we answer. I am joined by my fearless, amazing, beautiful, super intelligent co-host, Kristen Williams.
Hey, Laura. Hey, everybody. I could say the exact same things about you. In fact, I just did on a meeting we just had.
Yes, thank you so much. I love you.
I love you.
All right, so here we go. First question. This was sent to me on Instagram. Are there specific movements how often should, wait, I've got 5 of them here, but we decided on this one. How do I tell the difference between muscle soreness and a potential injury?
That's a good question. I mean, and the good news about muscle soreness means that you're building muscle. When you feel that soreness, you break down muscle to kind of rebuild it. So while you don't want to have severe soreness, I think when you're doing a workout, I kind of get excited, like, ooh, my hips were sore, ooh, my butt was sore afterwards. So, but yeah, if there's pain and there's soreness, and I think that is a hard hard thing to distinguish for a lot of people. It's not that challenging for me. I think I have a healthy relationship with pain. Having a very physical job and also being around a lot of people and seeing it's funny, whenever I have pain, I'll be like, oh, that's what that person was describing, because I hear pain described to me all the time. And having not felt a lot of pain in my life, thank goodness, when I do have it, I know what the difference is. And so my best thing that I use to really differentiate pain is a stoplight. I've said this on other podcast episodes where, muscle soreness, it should not make you, it might make you wince, but it shouldn't stop you from moving. You might be like, ooh, but it's not that take your breath away. So from a stoplight perspective, the take your breath away is like, a red. Now, muscle soreness can get bad enough to where you're literally in that high yellow to where it does feel like you can hardly move. That doesn't mean you're injured. Muscle soreness goes away too. So give something time. If it doesn't go away in 3 to 4 days, then it might be an injury. But it is not uncommon for muscles to be sore 2, even 3 days. Sometimes they don't get sore until 2 or 3 days after the hard workout. Usually it's about 24 to 48 hours. But I think people are really reactionary to pain, which is it's fear. I get it. Nobody wants to be injured, but give it time. So muscle soreness usually isn't that suck your breath, take your breath away, red stoplight type of pain. It does go away. Usually with muscle soreness, there is a real gross meaning broad tenderness to touch. So the muscle will feel sore, it'll feel beaten up, versus injuries are usually deeper. So you almost can't palpate an injury because it's so deep. Injuries also a lot of times have swelling involved. So if there's swelling in the joint or kind of numbness or a tingling sensation, that might be more injury related. But if if there's a broad tenderness to touch, if you don't have swelling, if it goes away after, and sometimes exercise makes it feel better. Usually if it's just muscle soreness, you feel better when you move. That's not to worry about. It's those things that don't go away. You've got swelling, it's deeper, you can't palpate it. Those are more hallmark injury signs. What else do you have to add to that, Laura?
That was really great. I mean, I totally agree. I think also with potential injury, there is often, there's two cases. One is that when you're doing something within that movement, say you were heavy lifting or you were hiking with a lot of weights or some, or repetitive action, within the time you're doing it, there's a feeling of something not being right, or maybe even vulnerable. Like you just are like, ooh, I went a little too far. And there was a kind of a catch or a feeling. And that usually happens in the activity itself. That's one way you can tell, like, it could be a potential injury because, that, that is your body's quickly responding to whether you're going beyond in range, whether you're going past like your endurance, like say, I had somebody the other day say, oh, I hiked 10 miles and I was great for 8, but the last 2, I was just barely like making it. Did you get injured? Probably not, but your form was compromised. And if you had a lot of load at that time, that could be a potential injury, at least the seed of it. And so there's usually in the movement patterns that you're doing that feeling of vulnerability or something just not quite being right. Sometimes even a sharp pain would appear with that. And then there could be something like I've done this before, running barefoot on the sand, where it felt really good while I was doing it. And the next day I could barely walk and it was very uncomfortable. That was a combination of being sore, but also a potential injury. Like if I continue to do that, because I put too much demand on my Achilles tendon and my calf with that soft surface and that repetitive action. And if I were to go do something that involved jumping or propulsion, using that muscle and that fascial connection, that could be a potential injury waiting to happen. So sometimes you get so tight, like or so restricted, and that's in a way your body is protecting you from continuing doing something similar because you just have kind of tapped out, and you could lead to a potential injury. So I would just add those things on top of what you said.
Great.
This is somebody also. He said, I have rounded shoulders that have led to shoulder pain. I've worked with physical therapy on overhead movement and internal rotation, but honestly doesn't seem better. I was a baseball pitcher in college without any significant injuries, but working in a corporate job has me sitting or standing or traveling. So in other words, he's not 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 just like he's kind of compressed, I think is what he's saying. But I still work out 5 to 6 days a week. My bench press is good. My overhead pulls were solid, but now I'm doing either I'm not doing either as of now. What am I missing? I feel it's imbalanced. And I love this because he gave us so much information. One, he's working at a desk, corporate setting, or standing or traveling. All that's going to be kind of in one position. He was a baseball pitcher, so you played baseball in college, but we know throwing is going to be a lot of this forward action, and he's limited now, either by pain, injury, or mobility, or all of the above with overhead movement. Can't do lat pulls and can't do a chest press anymore. So he's been to PTs, said it didn't help. Like what is he missing? And I think what he's missing is probably somebody looking more globally at his at everything. If you come in with a shoulder something to a clinic, not all clinics, but if you go to a clinic where it is insurance based and you have a number of things, they're going to really look at your shoulder and they're going to just try and make it feel better so that you can move, but they might not look at the full picture. So what I would advise to anyone who's dealing with this, and you're not alone, if you have rounded shoulders, you're all you're doing is stuff that contributes to it. Your daily life is contributing to it. Chest press is totally contributing to it. It's all this forward action. Pulling is a little bit more getting into the back, but there's a lot of ways that you can just use your biceps and lats and bigger mover muscles and not get into the smaller but very significant muscles that are around your scapula, in your upper back. And so I think what you're missing is very small, like strength training in those stabilizing muscles to help your posture. I'd also want to know, like, what's your rib cage looking like? Because your ribs are the anchor for the scapula and the shoulder. So I would look at posture. How are your ribs over your pelvis? How is your rib mobility, thoracic mobility, lateral flexion and extension? And what is, like, can you stretch out your pecs and not have pain there? Because that might be a sign of some impingement, which is not enough to not mobilize it because you need to, but you're going to be more set up to impinge with a rounded shoulder. But you've got to work on the back. This is the biggest, like, kind of thing that I'm just like, what are people missing? And it could be PTs or movement professionals or anyone just not working enough on the back. Your shoulder originates in your back. And if you have a shoulder issue, you need to strengthen your back. And as a guy that already is recognizing you have rounded shoulders, that you already did a lot of, you probably are so imbalanced in those rotator cuff muscles, the internal rotators versus the external rotators, that you really have to work the back muscles, so.
And I think that's a great point, Laura. And even if we assume this guy went to a great PT who worked his back muscles, who worked the serratus, my question is, okay, if that didn't work, then to your point, we look more globally, and I would go down and up, right? Like you said, rib cage. Let's talk about, I mean, every guy, he said, I chest press fine, lats fine. Well, a lot of men, those are big movers, but okay, when he's doing a plank, is he all chest? What about
Yeah.
his core? Like the abdominals, what is his core strength? And I'm talking like the deep core, the obliques, the TVA, sure, but I think the obliques are really underrated in their ability to kind of get that cross support from shoulder to hip. How is his hip mobility? Is he overusing the shoulders because he did for so many years as a pitcher? And so that's his go-to. What are his hips like? What are his hips strong? How is his balance? I mean, you just kind of shift the focus away from the shoulder where he's having the pain. And then, like you said, the neck, like he's sitting.
Yeah.
Where is he carrying that head and neck? Because if we assume that maybe somebody did look, because we know that's where the PT is going to look. The PT, I've been there, done that, got the t-shirt. I'm going to look right where That's what people want. That's what I have time for. That's what I'm set up to do. I would love to look at this guy's pelvis, hip, and core and
Mm,
see how strong, how coordinated is that. And by the way, we don't know his name, but being imbalanced is not a big problem. I mean, we all, especially athletes, we might have one leg that's more flexible. We might have one arm that's stronger. That's not uncommon, but I think that it's yielding pain and yielding some sort of discomfort or even just sense of unease.
mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's where I would love to look deeper with this guy and get more of a look at how, because even if he's like, well, but I'm doing my functional stuff. I'm doing all, well, but how are you doing it?
How are you?
Are you
Exactly.
going into those old patterns? And is it because you're not strong anywhere else? The poor shoulders are still trying to do everything because that's what you're used to doing as a pitcher, as a
Mhm.
thrower, as a whatever, an upper extremity athlete is so used to going there that the rest of everything is on vacation. And so that's what gets hurt.
Yeah, I totally love that. Yeah, it's really, so if you want to work with us, we both do privates, just go to our website and check it out, because probably what you'll find is like one session with us, we would really, look at all of these parts and really go into the puzzle, right? And there is like she said, everybody's in balance, but when there's the imbalance is great enough, that is leading to pain, discomfort, lack of mobility, all the things. It does beg the question of like, well, is the imbalance such coming from the core, like all these proximal muscles not being able to stabilize enough with any kind of movement of the shoulders? Is the pelvis also not able to stabilize or find a neutral position so that all the muscles that attach to it, attached to the shoulder girdle, are positioned to perform as in their most optimal way? So this is the stuff we love, is like we can really help people in like a session by just identifying like, here are your imbalances, yes, but here are the ways that you have compensated for those. Like KB was saying, if you're so much using your shoulder, how is your, thoracic mobility, your hip mobility, even all the way down to your feet, right? So anyway, super fun. I want to tell you about one of my favorite things in the world, the LYT teacher training. Creating this comprehensive teacher training really felt like my life's work compilation, and I hold nothing back. My mission is for everyone to know and understand the whole body, functional movement, and the how and why behind the movement choices we make to feel empowered, transforming your own lives, and sharing that knowledge with others. Go to lytyogatraining.com, and I can't wait for you to join our community. All right, our last question today. This is from Charlotte K. I know you speak so much about the core, and I see a lot of different ways to do core work. What are the best exercises you recommend for strengthening the core? Speaking of the core.
Yeah, well, I think you've got to hit that full gamut. You have to look at the core as, like we were just talking about, shoulders, hips, abdominals, back,
Mm-hmm.
glutes, what a big part of the hips,
Yeah.
and really making sure that you're nailing all of those. Because I just had a patient today who was like, I do core, like I can hold a plank for 2 minutes. And I'm like, what else are you doing for core? Oh, well,
Mm-hmm.
that's it. And it's like, well, that is so one dimensional.
Yeah.
I got this person into a side plank, side bridge. They couldn't, I mean, Laura, they could not, one leg could
Yeah.
not abduct in the frontal plane
Mm-hmm.
without assistance. And this is like an athletic person. So they think the core is strong, but man, those outer hips are a huge part of your core. They stabilize your pelvis. They stabilize the femur, so just looking at it from the abdominals is not enough. Just looking at it from the low back, which a lot of, PTs, someone hurts their back, let's do McKenzie exercises out the wazoo. Let's do Mulligan. So it's just, how can we take a more global global look. So, I mean, I would do something personally for the shoulders, for the shoulder blades, shoulder blade, not only movement, but control. The core is about control. It doesn't, a lot of people, oh, you hold a plank. Well, there's no control needed in a plank. There's endurance needed in a plank, but there's no control. So movement exercises of the scapula. Yes, some stability work. So strength and dynamic control. Side bridge is another huge favorite. One-legged bridge, supine bridge, or like marching, where you're getting that pelvic stability, which, by the way, is hitting glutes, hamstrings, and back extensors and lateral hips. Great exercise. We do a lot of stabilizer abs, where we are getting that abdominal core, but we're holding it while we're moving limbs, which makes it more dynamic and functional. So I feel like you need a little bit of everything. What else do you have to add to that, Laura?
I would agree. And I think the sequencing is crucial. And that's why our reset is it's so effective, because we do it in this very methodical way. It's like we do bridge, we're really stabilizing the pelvis, turning on the glutes, making sure the spine stays in this neutral position, and not using the back, like using the movement of the spine to lift the hips. Because again, you need the core control, but more when you start with that in a very and on the ground, you get so much more support for your center of gravity. And then you do some abdominals, but they're not like these big movements where you're just kind of using the rectus, which is going to be involved anyway. Getting onto the lateral side, like those side bridges, we love those so much. Changing the lever, one with your elbow straight and the hand down, one with the forearm down. They're very different feeling, and they're going to target the scapula and the lateral hips a little bit differently. Getting into quadruped, then getting into the plank, and then, by the way, then getting up and moving, because what you've done there is, I like to say, you've just dialed into all those core stabilizers, and then you have to put them into action, which is when you're moving and the core is stabilizing against the movement of the limbs. That's its primary job. But the problem is, people have just developed whatever it used to be called, the HTTP, whatever the computer code. Their computer code is like 10 years old, and they just continue to use that. It's not very efficient, it's not very effective, and it's not very fun. And then that can be really taxing on the joints. So you've got to update and refresh. And the way you do that is you got to get on the ground and reprogram and rewire and communicate how to get that core active. Because that guy that was in plank, by the way, he was probably using a lot of his chest. He was probably not getting into scapular stability, probably not getting into deep abdominals, because I've seen people do that with the plank, and they're kind of pressing out their belly and arching and all that stuff. So you get on the floor to help rewire that, and that is how you do it. And it's awesome. We love, we're all about more core, because when people say, oh, I have some knee pain, or I've got my low back, it's like, what's the answer? More core. But you have to do it in an intelligent way so that it's working for you, and you're working kind of out of your old patterns into better ones. We love your questions. You can write us. You can email us, support@lytyoga.com. And you could also find us elsewhere.
Yeah, you can find us on Instagram at lara.hyman or kbwilliams99. You can also always message our Lit Method Instagram, and that will get sent over to us. We love to answer anything. We've got a lot of experience between the two of us. We'll give you our best answer, but nothing's off the table, and yet know that we're knowledgeable, but we're not perfect.
Yeah, exactly. There are opinions and our experience. And check out more by looking at our online platform, which has hundreds and hundreds of classes. And you can type in shoulder and beginner in 15 minutes, and ta-da, there's something.
There you go.
So check that out, and know that, as always, we're
pulling for you. Woo! Ta-da!
Thank you for joining us on this episode of Redefining Movement. If you like what you've heard, Please like and subscribe wherever you get your podcast. Feel free to leave us a rating and review or share with someone you know. Check us out at www.litmethod.com.